Hey everybody, welcome to the Coffee Break podcast. My name is Olexiy Kryvych and I am your host for today's episode. I'm a writer, director, actor out of Austin, Texas, and I've been working in the industry for the past 10 years. And today I'm joined by Nate Strayer. He is a filmmaker, entrepreneur, the founder and CEO of Vista Studios, the largest LED volume in Texas.
Central Texas.
Central Texas.
STLL Studios is a full-service production agency that partners with people, brands, and agencies to bring their unique stories to life for TV, socials, or ads. Contact us at hello@stillstudios.com.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. We'll start at the beginning. What brought you into filmmaking?
Man, so long story short, my dad brought home a camcorder when I was in probably fourth grade. And he just told, I didn't really know what to do with it. He was like, "I'll just film anything. It'll be cool for you to have." And I don't know why he bought it, why he gave it to me or anything like that. But I just started setting it up on a tripod and filming me and my friends sword fighting or whatever we were doing at the time. And eventually, I think this was fourth grade, we decided we should make a movie. So we didn't write anything, but we just would come up with scenes and then we'd shoot them and then we'd try to connect the next scene to it. And someday I might try to edit it, but I've got a bunch of footage from fourth grade where we tried to make a feature, and there's probably 30 minutes of stuff in there, and then we got bored with it and never finished. But that kind of started the interest. But in fourth grade, you're not thinking at all about career or what you want to do with your life. It's just this is a way to play. This is a way to have fun with my friends. But the love for that kind of stayed with me. And in high school, GoPros were coming out. And so I'd get a GoPro and take it on vacation when we would go and record everything, try to make a cool edit. And some people in school started noticing that I had this interest that, I was, for the time, fairly good at making exciting videos, typically again of vacation and whatnot. So I got asked to make a pump up video for our high school football team.
All right.
And I was good friends with all the football guys, so had full access to the team and everything. I ended up making this video that they played my senior year at the assembly. So 500 people in the gym all watching this thing, and people went nuts after it played. Bet. And I remember feeling that a crowd cheering and getting super excited. It wasn't about the film, they were cheering for the football team, but something that I made them feel that way. And that's when I decided I want to do that full time. So it kind of pivoted from video to films to movies after I graduated. And I went to school for it and realized that's something you can actually do. I think for a while it was the Devin Supertramp, YouTuber route. I want to go film travel stuff and just make cool videos. And then when I actually got to film school, I realized that there's actually an industry for making movies. It's not just some magic thing that people are born into in LA. And it kind of is, but it's becoming less so. So took a stab at it and now we're here.
Where'd you go to school?
Full Sail University.
Where's that?
It's in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
So it's a game, film, art, music, just an arts school. So it's a 20-month program. So I actually went for about 8 months, and I love Full Sail now. So no shade that has lived, but I wasn't super impressed with the program, but I didn't understand it. It was a lot of, we're going to give you the tools and you have access to the tools, but you got to go do it yourself rather than in this class, we're going to do a script. In the next class, you're going to start directing. And it was just teaching you things, and then you had to go apply it. So I dropped out. I went back to Grand Rapids where I grew up and made a couple short films, had a heartbreak, realized okay, I could keep doing this forever, or I could go back to school with a different mindset. And so I remember on the drive down, I told my dad, I'm going back because on the drive from Michigan to Florida, I told my dad, I'm going back because I have ideas, but I need people that know how to execute them well. So I'm going to find crew. And I stood up my first day back, and again, it's a 20-month program, so everybody that I had known was already graduated. But so I get dropped into this class that's been with each other for 8 months, and I'm this new guy, and I stand up and I'm like, hey, I came here before and I didn't do anything with it. I've got 12 months left. I'm going to direct like a project a month for the next 12 months. If you're a DP, if you're a AC, production designer, whatever, like come talk to me. Let's just start making stuff. And you know Joe Fela.
Yeah.
He came up to me like directly after. He was like, hey, I'm a DP. Like I'm super interested in making stuff too. So together, I think we did 16 projects in those 12 months. Music videos, short films. And yeah, after that, I had enough of a portfolio to go to LA and start pitching myself as a director.
That's a crazy rate.
Yeah.
16 and 12. That's like almost one and a half projects a month.
Yeah.
That's
some
insane.
of them were smaller and others were bigger. But yeah, it was really cool. It was a fun last 12 months, and it made me realize like I am a big fan of Full Sail now, and I would recommend it, but I would just say talk to an alumni first so they can tell you how to achieve the most out of the program.
Yeah. Well, why did you go to LA and like not New York, or like you knew that was definitely...
So like I just said, I'd kind of built up a crew that was used to me being the director. Joe was DP, another guy, Jacob, was camera. And I actually was trying to lead everybody to Chicago. And so I went and I was looking at apartments, and I was going to sign a lease for me, Jacob, and Joe, who are my three main guys that I knew would stick with me. And they kind of, behind my back, usurped me, and they were like, well, we're going to go to LA. We think you should come. And I'm like in Chicago, and I'm like, two against one, I'll do it. So that's why I ended up going to LA. But it was a better decision because there wasn't much going on in Chicago.
I used to live in Chicago for 3 years.
Yeah.
It's definitely more of a TV and theater town rather than, I don't know, like I feel like LA is more of a actual narrative and features and TV and music videos, and like there's a lot more that it has to offer. It's just, for sure, you
kind of have to start in a hub. And Chicago wasn't a hub at the time. I love Chicago though. That's like
what year was
my
that?
Favorite city. 2018, 2019.
I just left Chicago during that year. Yeah.
Nice.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How was LA?
LA was good. So as soon as I got on the ground, I DM'd every music artist I could find that had like 100 to 300K followers on Instagram. And I was like, hey, I just moved to LA. Here's my reel. I had a bunch of music videos from Full Sail, and probably DM'd 100 different artists. And one of them answered and said, I don't know you, so I can't bring you on as a director, but I'm actually doing a shoot tomorrow if you want to come PA, and you can come be a PA on it. And so I went, and it was a really low key, probably like $20,000 music video. And the director had already done like 6 or 7 for this guy. And I think he was on his way out to level up and do his next thing. So it's not that he wasn't engaged, but I could tell there was like something going on with the artist and the director. So every once in a while, the artist would come over to me and ask for my opinion on things. And I did something that PAs probably shouldn't do, and started giving my opinion on the creative and different things. And at a certain level, you know, you're all just there to make something. The positions don't mean anything. And that's kind of the level we were at that time. So the other director moved on after that project. I get the call to do the next one, and I did like his next 11 music videos.
Dang.
So that's how I was paying rent and stuff in LA was this one guy's music videos. And then the New York Film Academy has an acting program where every month they need the actors to fund and shoot they get like a certain amount from NYFA to shoot their own short film that they're leading in, that they write and lead in. So somehow I got on the roster to direct those, and the rate was small, but you know, it's directing for a rate. So did that, and then between those two things, and then occasionally picking up a gaffer job, occasionally picking up a PA job on like a big union show. Like I was on an Amazon show, them Covenant, as a PA. That was my first and only like big set thing at the time, and got to learn a lot about how studio filmmaking works versus you know, what I was doing up to that point, which was more run and gun stuff. And that's when COVID hit. So that leads into my next into the feature.
Yeah. What did that was the big ask for me, because as we all know, I'm doing my first feature, and I wanted to ask you, and I feel like there's not a lot of advice for people that are doing their first feature? There's not a lot of like practical advice. So I like, this is really nice speaking to you because you've literally done it, and you've probably done it in a time where I'm guessing, you did it during COVID. So it's like, it wasn't that easy. So what made you make that decision, and what was the process like?
So COVID hits, and then it's like a week in to, okay, this is a more serious thing, but the lockdowns weren't announced yet. So there was rumors in California, like, we're going to shut the state down, you can't leave. There was a bunch of rumors, and California's government was taking it like very, very seriously. And so I bought a flight to go back to Michigan, because I was like, if I'm going to be locked down, I'd rather be with my family. I'd rather be in a place where I can still go outside. They have some land and whatnot. So I flew up to Michigan. A week later, the lockdowns happened. And my girlfriend at the time was still in school, still at Full Sail, or maybe had just graduated. But anyway, was still in Florida. And she was planning on moving out to LA when she was done and stuff, but COVID. So I ended up asking her to come up and stay with us, just so that we're all in the same place. And she was a filmmaker as well. And so it's me and her locked down for probably a week and a half. And then she was like, you should write something. Like, we're just sitting here rotting away. And it was my parents, her, me, my sister, and my sister's boyfriend at the time. Now they're married. And so we're just kind of sitting there playing games, whatever, for that week and a half. And she's like, let's write something and shoot something. You have a camera. I had a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. And so I started writing a short film about a woman who gets kidnapped. And we filmed the short film. And then it's like, there's no end in sight to COVID. So it's like, let's write another scene and let's just keep adding on to it. And so honestly, the actual production and pre-production side of a feature was so not normal for me that I don't really know what it's like to direct a feature with a normal pre-production side, because it wasn't like, okay, these are the dates we're going to shoot with this amount of days. It was just, okay, for the next 40, until they announce we're out of COVID or we finish this movie, let's just wake up, write, film. Did a lot of rewrites while we were filming. Like, there's a whole AI aspect. Oh,
this is such a nice way, even though I think it's such a nice way of doing this. It's like when bands go to for like a month to record an album, I feel like it's like that, but you don't have a deadline. You just go and you're like, be creative. Right. Here's the space. You don't have any, obstacles or whatever. Yeah. Just do it.
And my sister and my brother-in-law, at the time they were just boyfriend and girlfriend, but they were our leads in the film. So like we'd wake up every morning, be like, hey, are you guys down for like 5 hours today? And they'd be like, sure. And we'd go out, we'd film. And we had some locations, right? So my grandparents owned, at that time, I think it was like 8 cabins on a lake that they would rent out. Like dingy little camp cabins, didn't have AC, super small. But we decided, like, once she gets kidnapped, which we filmed in my parents' house, we'll go to these cabins, and that's where she's like being held. And so yeah, just utilizing everything we had. We would use like those paper lantern with just a regular Edison bulb in it. And
dude, you said you filmed it with a Blackmagic?
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah, I looked at the trailer. I checked out the trailer and some stills, and I'm like, that looks like Olexiy. It's insane.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a Canon photography lens in the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. And that was the first feature I ever shot with the Pocket Cinema. So we got a bunch of press from Blackmagic, and I think just filming a feature during COVID was a big deal. So that helped with the sales process and stuff. But yeah, we finished it. I think we spent $2,500 total on production. And then I put a rough cut together. I went to some high net worth people that I knew from growing up and just said, hey, I don't know what it's going to cost, but I want to like go back to LA and finish this. So we got a guy from Hans Zimmer's camp to score it. We got Sean Baker's assistant editor, Mike Hugo, to edit it. And it's funny because he did the Florida project, and then you see him do my movie, and like the start is kind of similar. he found a frame where we just accidentally kept rolling the camera, and he used that as like the opening title sequence. And if you go watch the Florida Project, he did the same thing. So anyway, kind of cool. But we ended up raising $50K to do music, editing, coloring, sound mixing. And we took it to an agent. I can't give you a ton of advice on distribution or talk to anybody about it, because I would have done it way differently. I would have self-distributed.
What makes you say that?
Because the opportunity we got to distribute was all TVOD, so transaction. So it was, Amazon and Apple TV, but like you rent or buy the movie, and you can do that yourself. You can just get them listed on there.
Yeah, exactly.
And there wasn't a ton of marketing that they did. The one thing that they did help with was a couple months later, Tubi approached them and said, "Hey, we like these 5 movies you have. We're going to pay X amount for this catalog." And, we got some of our money back by doing that. But yeah, a lot of it was like my own marketing and a lot of people purchasing it, renting it. The Tubi thing helped. It pushed us above a certain number. But yeah, just I don't know. I think if none of that money was going to anybody else but us and whatever platform it was on, we would have made a lot more.
What do you... I feel like I see that a lot of the industry is changing now where people they have a lot more means to go independent and to actually self-distribute too. How do you see self-distribution? Like, in what ways is it better? Because I totally agree on the fact that like you don't need somebody to put it on Amazon or to put it on these catalogs. You can do that yourself. You can do all the BCP and all that stuff. But I feel like the biggest difference that like a big studio can give you is marketing, and if they have a budgeting or budget for marketing. How would you do if you do it yourself now? How would you do marketing if you decided to do it by yourself?
So I think we marketed it pretty well. Like the first couple of days it came out, it was top 180 on Apple TV movies. So I mean, that's not like top 10 or anything, but enough people were buying it where it makes a dent in the spreadsheet. I'll go back and revise what I said about self-distributing. I would self-distribute something that doesn't have a big name in it. Because the agent that we got that went and pitched us to Netflix, Hulu, Lionsgate, all these other places, they were like, okay, we like the movie. We're glad you made something during COVID, and we actually need stuff right now, but we're not ready to take a risk on something that doesn't have a name attached to it. So if I had even a B-lister in the movie, I think we would have had a lot more success going with this distribution agent that we ended up hiring. But if I were to make something that had 0 talent attached to it, named talent, I would self-distribute it and self-market it the way that I did. But there's a certain level of like a $50,000 movie with no names attached to it isn't that risky. But if you're making 500 to million plus with no name attached to it, it's going to be hard to make that money back. But if you only need to make $50,000 back,
that's not bad.
Market it yourself, distribute it yourself, take all the money.
Sorry, I'm processing all of this. This is great advice. How were you able to break even? Did you make some profit? I mean, obviously you can't do the specific numbers, but I'm just interested in like if somebody that has made a feature for that amount of money, can you actually make your money back?
The movie itself, I think, was just under breaking even, but the opportunities the movie gave me to then do other ventures that I could then pay back my investors with was like incredible. So in other interviews, I think I've simply stated it as the movie did well enough where my investors asked me what's next. But in reality, the movie itself did okay money-wise, but did incredible things for my career and for my opportunities. And those things allowed me to, make those investors be like, okay, we're investing in you, not necessarily this project.
Right. So let's say like a filmmaker makes their first movie and it's even semi-successful,
Yeah.
and people do watch it, what does it do? Like, what kind of opportunities present themselves, and like, what does that look like?
I don't know if any opportunities presented themselves, but it gave me, and maybe I would look back at myself now, if I walked into a room with me from that time, I'd view myself as a little arrogant. But I think the fact that I made and sold a film for $50,000 and I did it during COVID, and I think I just started walking into rooms differently, and conversations opened up that wouldn't have opened up, because I think maybe it's more common in the last 5 years because of COVID to have made a feature. But in 2019, it's like, you made a feature, like, holy cow, how'd you do it?
Yeah.
So I was just able to go back to LA and start, you know, booking meetings with people simply by showing them the poster and being like, I made this movie. They never watched it. You know, in my opinion, it's a decent little film, but it's not great, right? But the people that I was approaching didn't have the time to watch it anyway. They just saw, oh, he made a movie, it's on Tubi. It's at the time, its Rotten Tomatoes score was like 89% or something. So, you know, you just do a little bit of research enough to be like, okay, this guy's legit. It got me into more rooms. I think it's harder to do that now because so many people are making features. But at the time, I do think that there was less people doing it, especially less people saying they did it in the last year, because the last year was non-existent for most people. So I just leveraged it, and that's what I do now, right? With Stray Vista, is I have built something much bigger than a $50,000 movie at this point, but I still just walk into every room with extreme confidence in what I'm doing, and it allows me to, you know, go from, hey, I want to open up a studio with a little psych wall, to walking into my studio 4 months ago with a script that I wrote and handing it to Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, and watching them read lines that I wrote in my studio.
That's
you know,
nuts.
just it's that you legitimize your own feelings about yourself. Is what I think accomplishing anything does. Taking it from zero to finish is just like, okay, now I can walk into a room with my shoulders a little bit more back and my head a little bit more up.
Yeah, I feel like it gives you much more confidence, and people sense that confidence too.
Yeah.
Where they're like, I feel like it has I read this term the other day, it's called with or without you energy. It's like, I have this project, I know I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it with or without you, and I have this confidence that I am capable of doing it.
100%.
And you either join and be successful with me, or you don't have to join, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like, yeah, that's like the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also never like, you don't want to overvalue yourself in comparison to the people you're talking to.
No, of course, it's more confidence over arrogance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's you still, you know, if you see somebody that's done things greater than you, still like, oh, like, this is amazing, I want to hear more about you. You don't talk about yourself, that type of thing. I think some people take what I'm saying when they've done it and walk into a room and just like, nobody can talk to me. I'm the number one dog in this room. But that's not necessarily what I was doing. It was just like, no, I deserve to be here. I'm still the lowest down in this room, but at least I've done something that allows me to get here.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like it's like levels of like, you graduate from like commercials to like music videos to like short films to like low budget feature films, and you just keeps going and going and going, and then like once you reach every step of the ladder, you feel a little bit more confidence. You have you know, I feel like it's that, but again, it's never arrogance. It's more about like, I know what I'm worth,
right?
And I know that I'm capable of doing really good work at this level,
right?
And it's like projecting that confidence, I feel like. So but that brings me to Stray Vista. So what happened after that, and how did you end up in Texas, and how did you transition to Stray, and what made you make that decision?
I got back to LA, I finished the film out there, but I realized like the post process, half the time I wasn't even in the room, because it was COVID. So a lot of the editing bays, you know, everything was remote. I would go to like the mixing sessions. I would go when like we thought we had a final cut, I'd go in and make my edits or whatever. The color sessions were all remote though, right? So I was like, I don't really need to be out here. If I filmed all of this in Michigan, this is the biggest thing I've done in my career. I filmed all of it in Michigan. Even though I did the post in LA, it was still like distance. And so I just started looking at and then I got in a car crash. And at the time there was this, not to get political, but there was, a lot of stuff going on with police and stuff like that. And I called 911 in LA and I was put on hold for like 30 minutes. So I was like, I'm leaving. I don't want to be like, if this was a burglar in my house and I called the police and I get put on hold, like I don't want to be here right now. So I left. I think they've worked that out, hopefully. But I left and I was looking at Austin. I was looking at Miami. I just kind of wanted to be somewhere still artistic. I loved LA for its people that were artistic and but I wanted to be somewhere where I could drive 30 minutes and be in the country, because I didn't grow up in a sprawling city, so definitely didn't look at Houston. But yeah, Austin, just I visited once and it was kind of like, okay, this is where I want to be. The market here too, filmmaking, again at the time it was commercial only really, but there was enough commercial work it seemed like. And you have guys like Linklater, you have guys like Rodriguez. So there is a spirit of independent film.
And McConaughey now, and
McConaughey,
Woody
right.
Harrelson,
but they weren't as vocal about Austin at the time. So I moved in 2021, January 2021. And at the time, all I was doing was writing. So that movie got me connected to some high net worth individuals who were just like, hey, I've got a story. I've never known what to do with it. Could you write a script for me? And for, not a ton of money, I'd be like, yeah. And so I was just writing. And one of those guys had a company that had a big warehouse attached to their company, but they didn't know what to do with it because they only needed the office space. So he was like, oh, maybe you could turn it into a studio. So I started looking into that. He was going to invest in it. And after a couple months of deliberating with him, I decided I want to do this myself. So I went and raised my own money and started Stray Vista.
Why specifically LED?
When I was making Outlier, when I was making my first film, I think I was so limited to, I couldn't have gone to a hospital. I couldn't have gone to a downtown. I couldn't, because it was COVID. So it was like, all I can do is be in this house and in like the 20 by 20 patch of wood that I have and try to make it look bigger than it looks. And so I don't know, it drew my attention for what it could do for my stories. And I just figured, if I feel that way about it, I'm sure a lot of other filmmakers will feel that way about it. And then you look at the scalability of a business and it's like, okay, with a psych wall, you can get $2,000 a day for renting out your space. With the LED volume, you can get XYZ a day. And it's just like, okay, if I'm going to go to investors for the amount of money it costs to buy a building, build a studio, bumping it up a little bit more, but the return being bumped up way more is just, it made business sense. It made creative sense.
That's cool. What was the process of getting all that technology and learning all that technology? Because it's like, weren't you one of the very first ones on the scene?
Yeah. I didn't know anything about it. And I raised the money and put that money that I had raised down on the volume itself before I even knew if I would be able to find somebody who could run it. And that some things I just think are God letting you make mistakes that he'll fix later. But like a couple months after that, Ace, my virtual production supervisor, called me and he was like, hey, Full Sail built, and he was at Full Sail at the time doing his master's. He said they just built a LED volume. I've been running it for the last 6 months. I helped him build it. I'm learning it. I heard through a professor that you're thinking about building one. I'm looking for work when I'm done with my master's. Maybe we can work together. So it was just kind of like, oh, perfect. Right at the time I need it. He's graduating. He came out in November. We opened in January, and
that's great.
We learned together, but he knew a lot more than I did.
I feel like it's almost like with anything film, it's just like a snowball thing. Once you start doing one thing and doing it consistently, it just continues to pile on, and like people get interested, people reach out to you, and it just becomes a bigger thing.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to, so like you asked, like what opportunities came to you because you made a feature, and it's like, if I threw out into the network that I had at the time, yeah, I'm going to build this studio without having the feature to my name to say like he does what he says he's going to do, I probably wouldn't have gotten the call from Ace. It would have been like, oh yeah, of course you are, sure. But because I made the feature, all of those opportunities, anything that I threw out into the world, returned back with people who could help me, because they were like, oh, this guy is somebody who, if he says he's going to do something, he actually he does it. So that was the biggest investment, was like building that reputation.
What was the process like getting it up and running to like now, where, you know, like obviously we've done a few productions together and now it's such a smooth process. I don't know, to me, at least on the outside. Yeah, I know internally it might look different, but like,
no, it's super smooth now.
What was it? How was the journey from when you started to now? And like, what are some things that were difficult, or like some lessons that you took from that process?
Ace and I both had to learn that even though there was groups of people doing virtual production at the time, in 2021, it was still so new that if we thought there was a better way to do something, we shouldn't immediately shut that down and be like, no, that's not the way it's done though. We kind of had the opportunity to create our own workflow, and there were different companies that we went and talked to. There were different people that we had relationships with that would say like, no, the way you do it is XYZ. The way that it needs to be done is this or that. And at some point, we just decided we got to stop trying to fit other people's mold of what virtual production is and what it can be used for. And we need to work together to find out, like, Ace, how do you want to run this volume? And then have him have full confidence that even though it might not be exactly how these other places are doing it, we've got different hardware than they do. There's no, you can't go to a website, click buy, and have a volume show up, right? It's like, we've got different panels, we've got a different tracking system, our computers have different processors, our networking is different, to hook all this stuff together. So to like simply look at somebody else's workflow and be like, okay, yeah, everything you're saying is true, we need to do it that way. There's like unnecessary hurdles we were jumping over that with our gear and our setup, it's like, no, let's just do it this way. So I think Ace and I both, like me learning to give him permission and then him learning to give himself permission to just create our own workflow, like the Vista way of doing things. That was one of the harder things, but it probably took 6 months till we were like really comfortable about the way that we did things. And then from there, bringing on Aaron and Zach, who are both producing for us now, either virtual production producing or just producing in general. It's like we've been able to scale a lot more because we're kind of moving away from just being a studio space who has volume to being a virtual production/production company who is an expert in this way of filming things. So whether we just did a shoot up in Trilogy, which is now the biggest volume studio in Texas. But it was our team, right? Like we took the client, walked them through what virtual production is, did all that consulting. Ace was on set, virtual production supervising the whole thing. We used their operator. Their operator's great. But there is that, just we've been doing this for 3 years, and the knowledge that we've built up, I think is really valuable to more than just people who can want to shoot in Austin, Texas on the exact size volume we have. So our workflow, this thing I told you was probably our biggest, hardest thing we had to work on, became our biggest asset.
Well, I feel like the biggest thing in filmmaking that I'm learning is like, you can be like, yes, there are rules for a reason. And yes, there's like way of doing these things properly, but like times change and things get better, and you shouldn't restrict your way of thinking, because the way you're thinking might be better, because you know, like you're building things that work for you and your process might be better than somebody else's. Yeah. And then you bring somebody else and that person brings something. It's such a collaborative thing that it becomes, it's like, no, that system doesn't really work anymore. We have a way better system. Like, why do we need to do that?
It's like Tony Stark, dude. Like, you don't stop at Mark II suit or even Mark III. Like by the end of the movie, he was on like Mark 477 or whatever it was. Cause like, you just got to keep iterating. You got to keep doing it.
What do you have in mind for Vista in the future?
Yeah, so we are, like I said, we're now offering our services in more locations than just Stray Vista Studios. So some exciting things I can't talk about are happening in LA, with some really cool historical sound stages out there that we might be kind of consulting to upgrade their technology. Our partnership with Trilogy, I think, is going to continue to grow as the needs of virtual production from our clients get bigger and bigger. We might not necessarily purchase that massive volume, but they've got incredible hardware up there and really good operators and a really good team running it with Sarah and Taylor. And so it's exciting just to create partnerships with different stages, be able to bring our clients over there, but then also, you know, straight to agency production as well. And having folks realize that, you know, our head of production, Zach, is, you know, equipped with really good line producers, really good, everything you need to make a production happen. And so we've got good systems in place for everything there, but obviously focusing on virtual production first and foremost is, you know, we've just been blessed enough to figure out how to do that really well. And so helping,
and actually pretty quickly,
helping anybody else do that. And then investing in projects like your feature, like the short film we just did with y'all, like doing some Stray Vista as a production company narrative work. And Treasure Imagination came out last year. We did True to Texas this year, and just kind of trying to grow more into the narrative space and show what we can do there. And so I'm writing a couple of scripts that we'll probably be shooting in the next couple of years, and then got some, you know, now got great relationships with some big talent that we're talking about on some of those, and great partnerships with a lot of really cool different people. So the biggest thing right now is make sure these incentives get pushed through, and I think Stray Vista has been a big part of a really big team in trying to make that happen.
How did few last couple of questions? How did True to Texas come about?
So
it's such a big thing.
Shout out to George Lane, good friend of mine, collaborator of mine at this point. He had an idea to make I don't know who had the initial idea actually, but he really helped see it through, to make a PSA 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and you've probably seen this one as well, of Matthew, Woody, Owen Wilson, Glenn Powell, talking about why Texas film is important. So he was very involved in making that. And then when this session was about to start, he called me up and he was like, hey, if we did another thing like this, but it was like all these actors in a car driving from wherever they are, LA or Atlanta or whatever, and saying like, we're going to move to Texas and make this thing happen in Texas. Could you pull that off on your LED wall? And he and I talked about the last one. We were going to do some of it in the studio. It didn't work out. But I was like, not only can we do that, but let us just take this off your hands and produce it for you, and you can just be the creator. And he did a lot. He did like the fundraising to make it happen, and we handled like the logistics side to make it happen. So basically just a collaboration between George and I, and then pulling in Nick Pizzolatto, who wrote True Detective, to direct it and edit the script that Aaron and I wrote for it. And then obviously Matthew, Woody, Dennis, Billy Bob, and Renee just being super gracious to come in and help the cause. It was one of those miracle things, man. Like, I don't know, it's a blur. It's the most stressful like 2 months of my life, because we're making a really big project for very little resources, considering what it is. And we pulled it off, and it went great. It's garnered over like 20 million views across all platforms, and Hollywood Reporter, Rolling Stone, like all these different Variety, all these different publications picked up the story. And now I was just with Matthew and Woody again Monday, because they just testified downtown.
That's right. I saw the videos. Yeah.
So Dan Patrick, our lieutenant governor, is like super on board to make this film industry something that benefits Texas a lot. And same with Senator Huffman, and just the Media for Texas folks are doing a lot. So it seems like God has put the right people in the right place to say like, okay, Texas is going to do something very special. But in order to do so, it needs to be competitive with these other places. And so let's do it.
Well, I feel like now we finally have the pool of talent here of such a level that is consistently putting out work that is getting more and more traction.
Yeah.
And it's just snowballing. I mean, if you look at even like the last year, the amount of stuff that has been produced, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
To see Austin grow so much.
Yeah, it's wild how like people don't know what they don't know. So like you think of education and these like the first PSA that George did and the one that we just did, like how much it actually helps when people just know what's going on and how many people actually want to step up and help and stuff. So yeah, like groups like Media for Texas and all the studio owners that I know of are super involved in helping push this out. So yeah, it's the community coming together and saying like, hey everybody, look what could be this helpful thing for Texas. And not only that, then you've got the boots on the ground folks like y'all who are actively making stuff, and like it gives us things that we can point to, like this was made here without these incentives. Like imagine what we could do when we have them.
If you really think about the projects that even we made, the amount of resources that were used, and the quality of projects that we've made, and it's like thinking about what we can do if we actually had the resources. It's insane. It's insane. So
it's exciting. I think there's going to be a golden age of film in Texas, and there's a lot of people to thank. I mentioned a couple different groups, but TXMPA has done a lot as well. Just want to make sure I mention them.
All right, I think that's all we're good for. Thank you so much for coming. This has been really great. I've learned a lot, and I'm going to be processing a lot of things over the next couple of days.
Cool.
Thank you so much for coming, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
The Coffee Break podcast is presented by Still Studios. Still Studios is a full-service production agency that partners with people, brands, and agencies to bring their unique stories to life for TV, socials, or ads. Contact us at hello@stillstudios.com.